So you've probably already heard at this point that the Melania movie is going to lose a whole ton of money, but what you may not have heard about yet is that the good chunk of the money that it did actually make might not have been real. It might not have been authentic demand from Melania loving moviegoers to see her movie. It might have just been rigged, as so much in right-wing media is. So let's go through all the numbers, starting with what we think we know about the money that it made on opening day. So in the US, the film exceeded predictions, grossing $2.9 million from almost 1,800 cinemas, but was still obviously a financial flop. It was ultimately beaten at the box office by Iron Lung, an independently financed horror film made by YouTuber Mark Fishbach. By the way, it wasn't just beaten by Iron Lung. Iron Lung made like 10 times as much, which maybe that's apples to oranges. One's a documentary, one's a feature film. But I have a feeling Iron Lung didn't get $35 million in ad money. So maybe it's not so apples to oranges after all. And then of the $2.9 million it made in its opening day, some are looking into the ticket sales, and there seems to be some good evidence that it was bulk purchases, not organic demand for the movie. So veteran box office tracker Tom Brueggemann noted on his Substack that, quote, industry sources say there were signs that blocks of tickets were purchased for the weekend, then distributed to senior citizen homes, Republican activists, other interested parties for free to help boost audiences. Now look, is that a thing that some people do sometimes? Maybe. I haven't heard of a movie doing that, but I'm assuming others have done it. And if they give out the tickets and, I don't know, deluded old people want to see Melania strut about in Prada, then sure. The issue is that don't like pee in my face and then tell me it's raining or whatever. Like don't pretend that it exceeded expectations when no, it was just that in amidst all the other millions of dollars that they're blowing to make it seem as if this movie's a success, some of those millions went to buying up tickets or whatever. That's not authentic. Be honest about what you're doing. And it is entirely possible that when Jeff Bezos put all that pressure that we reported on at the time in advance of the movie coming out, because they could see that people weren't buying tickets and he was like, you gotta do something to make this thing a success. Is it possible that they interpreted that to mean buy a bunch of tickets and pretend that people want it? I don't know. I know that I've previously reported on right-wing book bestsellers, and the exact same thing happens. Tens of thousands of copies are bought, not by actual readers, but by right-wing nonprofits, think tanks or whatever. They buy them up in bulk and then they hand them out to people, and maybe some of them get read, but they pretend as if there is organic demand for this stuff when there is not. And then they shove in our face that, oh, all these right-wingers are bestsellers. Where's all the left-wing bestsellers? Well, I don't know, maybe we don't have billionaires buying up all of our books for us. And it looks like that's probably what happened in this case too. Now, I'm not gonna pretend that there wasn't some actual organic drive towards the movies as a result of Melania. There apparently was. It just wasn't for her film. Michelle Obama's documentary apparently rose 13,000% in views on the same weekend that Melania was in the theaters. And that's just on streaming services. It's not like they had to buy up the tickets or whatever. I think people were like, I don't wanna see Melania, but Michelle seemed pretty cool, I'll watch that. I personally am not gonna watch either, but if I had to choose, it's not really a choice. And so that's definitely interesting too. Now, that said, let's talk about a little bit more about what people thought about it. Again, I didn't see it. I know that Bart saw it. Maybe at some point he'll send in a comment about it and I could read it. But for now, The Guardian's Zan Brooks described it as a gilded trash remake of Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest in a 0-star review. It's been struggling overseas, opening at number 29 in the UK and number 31 in Australia, which I just think is so funny. Like, you know how like there's a subset of Americans that are obsessed with British royalty? That evidently does not go the other way. They don't care about our elites at all. And focusing on the UK, ahead of its premiere, UK ticket sales were described as soft, which is definitely the case. And on the day of release, many screenings across the UK were sparsely attended, with the film even playing to empty rooms in several locations over the weekend. However, some screening rooms, namely in View Islington, I'm not familiar with it, were booked up and filled with journalists, people who have to write reviews for it. So they made, on average, after currency conversion, on average less than $300 per screen, which is not how this is supposed to work. And look, are we focusing a lot here on the Damage Report on Melania? Yes, we are. But for a couple of reasons. One, we were told after the 2024 election, all you leftists, all you progressives, you Democrats, you guys don't get it. You're not cool anymore. You know what's cool? Conservatism. In fact, conservatism's sexy. You better get on board because that's all pop culture is going to be right now. It's all going to be conservative and right-leaning because that's how culture is moving. And you guys need to understand that. No, that was never, obviously that was never gonna be the case. Being conservative is not cool. It damn sure ain't sexy. You can't look in Stephen Miller's beady little eyes and tell me that that's the wave of the future because it's not. They're not actually selling books. They're not actually selling movies. They're not even selling documentaries. And the other reason I wanna mention this, and I'll move on after this, is so I came across this yesterday. So Bezos blew $70 million on this documentary that no one wants to see. He spends even more money to make it seem as if people wanted to see it when they don't. We reported yesterday in the Washington Post, being the newsroom being cut by a third. And in a podcast I was listening to about that, they referenced that when he bought the Washington Post and people had these high hopes that he was gonna like reinvigorate it. Do you know what he spent on the Washington Post? Like all the Washington Post, the entire thing, the building, the crew, the machines, the IP, the website, all of it, $250 million. The entire Washington Post, one of the most well-respected newspapers in American history, was 3 Melanias in value. And it makes me wonder, if the entire Washington Post is $250 million, I feel like you could have not fired those 300 journalists if you hadn't done the Melania thing. Hell, you could have done the Melania thing and just paid half as much for it. Because whatever you're paying Melania, you're paying too much. And yet, he decided that was a better use of his money, bribing the family of the president, of the dear leader, and then shredding Washington Post for financial reasons. That's what we're being led to believe. Well, as of right now, Rotten Tomatoes has Melania at 6%, which I think is generous. On IMDb, it's at a 1.3 out of 10. Earlier, it was at 1, so it's actually moving up a little bit. It was IMDb's lowest rated movie of all time, which seems aggressive, but perhaps deserved. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here, so thank you in advance for joining.